Counselor Accents Podcast. Two school counselors who love their jobs. Oh, and they happen to have Southern accents too. Bless their hearts.
I'm Laura Rancourt.
And I'm Kim Crumley. And together we are Counselor Accents, two school counselors who are in the trenches with you.
You know what you're going through because we're living it every single day.
I must say, I love your background, Laura, in your new home. That is gorgeous. It makes me want to up my game.
Oh, I promise you, it's probably the Zoom filter. If you were to actually come here, it does not look this lovely.
It's broken. The glass is broken and it's filthy. Those filters, I have to tell you, and I hope that she's not listening. When we're talking about filters, I needed a good laugh the other day. And I don't mean to be ugly to anybody, but this was a particular person that is long in the tooth. She's not a young thing, but she has, I don't know how to say this, but let me just say that with her filter, she had flowing blonde hair. I think she was astride a horse.
A what?
A horse. She had a cowboy hat on, okay. and the horse's mane and her mane was flowing.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm like, I don't know what black magic has been placed upon this image of my husband's family member, but no. That is, we kept looking, it's the kind of filter where you're going, is that her?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be her. That is her.
Those
like,
filters, the filters got out of control. I feel like this summer was the summer of the filters. It was one of those things where it's people you graduated with and you know that that's not factual. This is not factual. And people would comment like, looking good, girl. And I'm like, if y'all can't see that at the bottom, it actually says filter, like there's something.
Well, and I get it. It's fun. It is fun.
It's fun.
And you want to think of that as the very best version of how, I don't know, of maybe how you would look if you had, I don't know if you could turn back time. That's a Cher song. Did it sound like her?
It did. I thought she had hacked into the Zoom call.
But anyway, yes, if I had Cher hack it,
I will remove her.
Talk about not having to use a filter. Cher.
She's amazing. I know. She looks great.
Like, my goodness. I will tell you, the first time I heard about divorce, and we've never talked about this before, was when Cher and Sonny came on the Sonny and Cher. This is before you were born. But I was like 4 or 5, and I was on the couch with my mother, and Sonny and Cher show used to come on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there with her, and they came on together to say they were getting a divorce. And I did not know that was a possibility. I had never heard that word. And I remember, so when I'm dealing with kids that are going through divorce, I can summon up those feelings, because
please stop.
It's true.
You can identify with how they're feeling, because that's exactly how you felt when Sonny and Cher got.
I can remember being a little girl being devastated. So that's the only thing I can relate it to, was how scared I was. It's scary. I'm sorry that you're laughing at my trauma. Does that make you feel bad, or does it make you feel good to make me feel bad?
It makes me, yes.
It does. It makes me. So, Laura, we have got to spend a few days with the Julia Cook.
Yes, we did.
The Julia Cook. And it went something like this. She called and she said, how far are you from Kentucky? Because she knows it's all in the South. And I said, as you pointed out to our entire school system, it could be 30 minutes or it could be 3 hours. I'm really not sure.
No idea.
But this woman has so much energy that, what is that to her?
Yeah.
It's nothing to her. Okay, I would also like, since you are just going to let me have the talking stick, to say to you that I asked you a question a few days ago, and I did not like your response, and I would like to air my grievances.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it grievances or grievances?
Grievances.
I felt like you're right. I felt like that.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
I ask you, have you been talking about the way I say books?
And I said, who told you?
And that let me know that you had been talking about the way I say
Well,
books.
I have definitely made a mental note of it. And when you asked me in that accusatory way, I thought, oh, well, maybe I did voice it out loud. But I promise you, it would have just been you've got to hear the way Kim says books because it's so cute. And so I
Mhm.
thought, if she's saying it this way, I must have said it out loud. But who did I say it to? So that's why I was like, who told
You
you?
were like, oh no. And is she, of course, you know, I don't get mad. I get even. I was talking to teachers and I said books, and two of them looked at each other and they both had this look come over their face and they started talking about it, and they both had noticed the way I said it. So they're just like talking about it. And I'm like, y'all have noticed this and it's a thing? Like I didn't know it was a thing? And they like, yeah, it's a thing. Like it's a thing the way you say it. And even one of the teachers, I taught her in 5th grade, and she said, the first time I heard you say it, I just wanted to put you in my pocket.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, so it was kind of embarrassing because I'm like, how many? And so that's why I wanted to ask you, how long have I been saying it
Yeah.
that way
Well,
incorrectly?
I first noticed it, I guess, when we started talking about writing our children's book, Hygiene. And
Yes.
so in the course of that time that we wrote that book, as you say, I noticed it because you said it frequently. And then we recorded our episode last summer, um, summer books for school counselors to read or something like that last summer. You said it frequently throughout that episode about the
But see,
book.
I do not hear it. And so it threw me for a loop. It makes you think, what is it that's unique to you
Mhm.
that other people notice and
Yeah.
they never say anything? And I could have gone on, lived my entire life, laid a corpse, and never known that that was something I did. And I still don't hear it, so I don't know how to correct it. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Everybody has those things, I'm sure. I'm trying to tell myself that.
I'm sure.
I'm not going to tell you what yours are because I'm not hateful. But
Okay. And I never told you what yours were. You had to ask me outright.
and I wish you had said, why are you saying it like that?
Well, because you're not saying it wrong. It's not wrong.
It's
It's just
just,
there's an emphasis on a different syllable or something. Or
I don't know.
no, I know what it is. You come in heavy with the double O, so it's like book. Like it's heavy. It's heavy with the double O.
That's
Book.
funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of books, we have Julia Cook on our episode today.
Oh, is it today?
Well, I'm cutting out every nonsense that you said earlier, so I'd appreciate if you wouldn't say any more nonsense.
And
I can't hear you. It's cutting out. No, the nonsense that you were saying before, I'm like, what? Where are you? What are you doing? What are you saying? So I just
I
thought,
thought it was all good.
no, it
Do I
wasn't.
do I say good like I do book?
No,
Okay.
no.
I
So we do have Julia Cook on our episode on our
do
podcast
I
today.
say cook like I say book?
Nope.
Okay, just checking. Just checking.
Now I want to take you through double O words and see where I'm in my head. I'm thinking, what else? Book.
I just want our listeners to know that she's cutting out if she's cut anything out of this, she's cut good material.
You have no idea how much I cut out of this. This is why I can't turn it over to anybody because I make you sound brilliant. You people should hear how she really sounds before I do the edits.
And I'm not even on the podcast, am I? You cut me completely out. Oh, Julia Cook. Julia Cook. I love her.
I love her too. Let's just end us and let's just listen to her.
Good. Well, Laura, we finally did it.
We have arrived. This is the biggest moment for us ever.
We are the crowning achievement for
It is
our
like it's like what we've sought after for years and years. This is why we started the podcast, isn't it? So we could get to talk to Julia Cook.
Julia Cook. And we have tried and tried, and we actually got to meet Julia at ASCA, and I may have screamed. And
well, it was really funny because we were walking by the booth and you saw the sign that said, meet the author. And you were like, it's Julia Cook, meet the author. We can meet Julia Cook. And I looked and I said, she's sitting right there. And you were like, it's Julia Cook. And we both kind of repeated, it's Julia Cook. I mean, it was like a moment from a movie.
It's like I lost feeling in my legs and arms. And
that's why you wet your pants. Yes.
And I wet my pants.
That's ridiculous.
She is so super down to earth, and we have her on our podcast. So it is a crowning achievement for us. If you are a school counselor that has been a school counselor for 5 minutes, you have used Julia Cook's. I'm going to literally, this is what I did today with a little girl. I'm holding up Wimberly Worried, and you can't see it because I have a fake.
Wilma Jean.
Wilma Jean. What did I say?
Wimberly
Worried, which is also a very good book.
It is, but I use this one, Wilma Jean. You can't see it. Sorry, I'm trying to make it happen. Wilma Jean Worry Machine, and it stays on the end of my desk because it's still early in the school year, and I've got all my little worriers coming into school, and then also use that jump into kindergarten. So amazing. If you are not familiar, then you need your license revoked. And that's just what I'm going to say about that. If you're a school counselor, she is the best. She answers all of our questions and burning needs. So we're here today. Julia, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we want to hear about what you got going on right now.
Well, I was a middle school math teacher, and I could not. A job came open. I thought I'd get a degree in counseling to be a better teacher. Didn't plan on being a school counselor at that time, but didn't want to get an admin degree. And so when I moved to Fremont, Nebraska, and a position came open for school counseling, elementary. And I thought, well, and they asked, you want to take that spot? And I had the degree, so I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And in that series of time at Belfield Elementary, we had 4 schools merging into one, a big school. We had a lot of issues, and you didn't know how to strategically place kids, and so it was a bit of a challenge. And I always would send out to teachers and know what are you having the most problems with. So when we did the lessons, we could target those. And tattling just kept coming up and coming up. In grad school, I had a really good professor who told me, if you really want to get into a kid's world, read them a story. And if the story has good stuff in it, the story will, they'll absorb the good stuff. And you pull the book away and that stays in there. So we had at that time Rainbow Fish and Enemy Pie and great books. And I loved it. So I thought, well, I'll just find a book on tattling. And I couldn't find one that said what I wanted it to say. So I wrote a story about a little kid who tattled so much he grew a tail. And what came out of that were some rules. And I started using that in my classrooms. And this first grade teacher busts in my office one day and says, you've got to do something. This is really working. So I grabbed a book off the shelf, not one I had written, but one I've used with kids in the educational field. And I turned it to the publishing page, one nobody reads. And there was a phone number. So I picked up the phone number. I picked up the phone and called. And I said, I just wrote this book on tattling. It's working. And they said, send it in. We're looking for one. So I overnighted it on Monday. They called me on Wednesday. Hey, we want to publish your book. Do you have any more? I said, well, how much do I have to pay you? They said, ma'am, we're going to pay you. I dropped the phone. My husband always said, if you publish itchy, itchy, scratchy, scratchy, I'll eat my shorts. So he came home from work, and there were his shorts on a plate with a knife and a fork and a spoon and a sign that said I did it, and I went and bought me a couch. Anyway, they said, do you have any other books? And I said, well, when I was little, I used to interrupt all the time. Interrupted so much, my babysitter said, Julia, your mouth's a volcano. So I have the original Mouth of Volcano here. And they said, send that in too. So I sent that in. And fast forward 19 years, there's about 126 research-based titles. There's over 3.5 million sold in 9 languages.
Wow.
And so that's the story. I didn't ever plan on that, but I've done about 3,000 plus school visits in pretty much all over, a lot mostly the US, but a lot over the world. And the gist is the same, is that, if you can give kids information in a fun, relatable way, our kids, in order to learn, they have to see it, hear it, feel it, do it, show it to somebody else, and relate it to something they already know. And a children's book is a great way to do that because they can see themselves in the books. And even if they are a middle school or a high school, some of these books are written in metaphorical terms like flicker of hope. So it symbolizes stuff in a way that it applies to everybody. And all the seniors have to write on metaphor anyway, so it's a good dovetail for social skills and people skills. Great people skills. That's what we want to do. That's my story.
That is
Julia,
amazing.
oh my goodness, I am like that. So how long before you realized I am reaching more people as an author than I am as a school counselor? And when did you just start doing that full time?
Well, the book actually came out in January, and I had put in I was going to do it 4 years and then probably go back to teaching. And I kind of came across roads and thought, well, I'll just try to pursue this. So I had the Tattle and Volcano both. Volcano actually came out in December, but in 2005, and Tattle in January 2006. But so I had already put my notice in, and then I started just going to schools and saying, "Can I come talk to your kids about writing? I have a few books." And then I ended up going to a couple counseling conferences, and then start doing breakout sessions, and then you kind of learn a bag of tricks when you speak, because people want to know. They don't want to know, this is me fishing when I was 7. They want to know, what do you know that I can use right now to make myself better, to help my load, And so kind of worked on that too. But it was only a short time, like a year, before I knew that. But it was never to make money. Okay, when it comes to money, money chases value. So if you create value for something that people need, then you don't ever have to worry about the money, because the money, I didn't write the book to make money. I wrote the book to help kids. And if you ever get in the thing where I've got to write my books to pay bills or pay off this or that, your creativity goes down the hole. You don't want that. So the purpose always is, let's work together and do everything we can to give our kids the skills they need to win in the world, in whatever that looks like. Be respectful. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. Every time these books go to reprint, they are rewritten, because our kids change. I mean, at the first Volcano, I got a timeout, and now it says, my teacher told me to go sit down on the Zen chair and think about it, because how we talk to today's kids is not how we talked to kids 18 years ago. And so as our society has changed, as I've gotten feedback, we look at feedback, critical feedback, and every feedback matters, and some of it's not so nice. And you could either say, well, that's too bad, I'm just going to do it that way, or why would I want to write a book that's here that could be here? Why would you want to do that? So I feel like I wouldn't have a job if school counselors didn't do what they do. So to me, they're a whole bunch more important to me than I am to them. So I love feedback, and I want to make them great. And there's a lot of people who've kind of got on this social emotional book train. Okay, the people, that we got Brian Smith. I mean, he came to me a long time ago, and I hooked him up with Boys Town, and he's doing great things. And Trudy Ludwig's been doing it for years. But then there's a lot of people who've kind of gotten into it. It is not a competition, it is a cooperation. We can't have too many cool books out there for kids. So if I can help any of you get your ideas out there, that says a lot, because you can hear it 27 times and one time resonates with you, and then you're better for it. So I don't view it as a competition at all. I I don't go to schools to sell books. I go schools to teach kids social skills and to teach people great people skills and more to show teachers how to get in their head. By they watch me and I get in their head and then they can do that in their classroom. So that's why I go to schools.
Laura, I'm going to let you take turns. I'm going to take turns because I could railroad this whole thing.
No, I know. I'm just amazed. And Julia, I think that through the years, that is one of the things that has stood out to me the most is how you have taken feedback and you have made yourself better, or you have said, okay, I mean, you're so humble about it. And I've been just blown away over the years because you would think somebody like Julia Cook, I mean, you've got it going on, but you're always willing to learn. And I just appreciate
We change all the time. I mean, when Friends came out, Making Friends is an Art, I thought it was great. And someone said, well, it's racist. And I said, racist? I said, the illustrator is African American. How could it be racist? And I started out with what the brown crayon didn't have and felt bad about what they didn't have. And then said, oh, you have everything in the end. Well, I don't want a kid with brown skin looking at their skin saying I'm not great. I mean, what was I thinking? Well, I'm a middle-aged white woman. How would I have that perspective? There's no way I would have that perspective. That is the thing. We have got to listen to each other. And it took a beautiful black American woman who said, look, you're not racist, but why would you write this book? Why would you start out with what brown doesn't have? And I said, well, black's the hero. And he says, well, I don't look at my skin and saying black. I look at my skin and saying brown. And I had a huge learning curve. We changed the art. Looked at the art. The arms were white, not the color of the pencil. You see what I'm saying? I just took for granted that it was an African American author or illustrator that but why would you keep a book here that would work for some kids when you could change it and work for all kids? I remember revising it and giving it to a friend who's African American and saying, do you like it now? And she says, no, it sucks. It's terrible. And I remember thinking, what am I going to do? And, Boys Town was like, well, you had all these good reviews too. You only have 2 wrong ones. And I said, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't work, let's make it better. And then finally, this woman had enough courage to call me and talk to me. And she wrote me a note and I wrote her a note. We published those notes at the front of the book. And that book is something I'm proud of now. And it shows that everyone makes mistakes. And it's what you do with the mistake that matters. No one's perfect. And I've made a ton of mistakes. When you have Soda Pop Head, there goes Lester, watch him fester. When that book came out, if kids had a fit or if they had a meltdown or whatever, kids made fun of them, nobody said anything. Do you want your child shamed for having a problem with anger? No. So if you look at the revised, the revised Lester, don't read it the way, even if you don't have the revised, you don't need to. You can just read it this way. I am Lester. Watch me fester. My ears start to fizz. I get mad as a grizz. My face turns red. I'm a Soda Pop Head. He's recognizing it, but he's not getting shamed for it. And it took some brilliant person out there who pointed out what was wrong to tell me, have enough courage to tell me, saying, hey, you're shaming children. Well, that's not the goal, so let's fix it. Just about everything is fixable. And, hopefully, it's very hard to take critical comments sometimes when you do your best, but nobody's best can ever get better. So you just figure out how to do that.
What a powerful, powerful lesson that I did not even know we were going to have. But that speaks volumes and to what's important to you. And Laura and I have had criticisms before, and you're right. Not you, but our first instinct might be, what? That's not where are they getting the thing.
Yeah.
Really,
I'm pure at heart. Why would I ever do that, right?
But when you listen, it's exactly what you're saying. Like, yeah, okay, now that I'm seeing it the way you're seeing it, and you're right, that's how we grow and that's how we get better.
Right.
So I am thinking about your creativity, and I like to consider myself a creative person. But when I think about you and when I look at Cookie Bites, which we're going to talk about in just a second, and I see and I'm like, these are brilliant. These are brilliant. This is brilliant. This is insanely brilliant. How have I never thought of this? Where does that creativity come from?
I don't know. My dad used to say, "You have more ideas in your head than anybody I know, and if you can figure out a way to put them on paper, you'll really be somebody someday." Now, he passed away before Volcano came out, but Lewis was his first name, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Um, you have to think through the eyes of a child, and how are they going to see the world, and how are you going to make it interesting? Because you're competing with video games and social media platforms and Netflix and all these entertaining things. You got to go for the heart. You got to go for the soul. You got to figure out how they can love what they're doing. And if they
Mm.
associate a comfort feeling with learning a concept, it goes a lot farther. Or unfortunately, or a discomfort feeling with learning a concept. Okay? Because those on both ends highlight our brain and get them aware, and they go in deeper. So when kids learn things out of discomfort, like an abuse situation,
Yeah.
it's in
Yeah.
there really good. If they learn
Yeah.
something out of a joyful situation, it's in there really good. But if you're just teaching them to learn in a regular situation, there's nothing in there to squeeze it in.
Yeah. I
So
love that. Squeeze it in. And you do extra. I mean, there's extra. Every concept that you're teaching, there's extra. I'm like, this is so extra that kids are going to get it. Just like as I was telling you before, and I don't think this was on the podcast, I walked into a first grade room this afternoon, and two teachers were talking, and they didn't stop talking when I walked in. They were literally talking about my mouth as a volcano and how they were using that. And one teacher was telling the other, it is working. These kids are, and I was so excited to tell them, hey, I'm getting to talk to the author of that book at 3:00 today, and so teachers, that has to feel amazing to know that your work is changing lives and helping counselors and
about a year into it, I went to the middle school where I used to teach, and I talked to kids about writing and read some stuff to them. And on the way out, probably got one of the biggest compliments I've ever gotten, and that was that, when you were in a classroom, you were wasting potential, and now, now you can help a lot of kids.
and I think
I
that's
was like,
true.
whoa! I mean, that was huge. So, but you know what I mean. You better have in this business, you're always going to learn. Kids are always going to change. Situations are going to change. Kids adapt to their environment. Kids are basically the same as they've always been. They push A to get B. And if B doesn't work, then they'll try C, D, E, F because I want B to work. Okay. Situations around them have changed. I mean, when you and I were at school, if we didn't do what we were supposed to do, they said, Kim, I'm gonna call your mama and talk to her, and she's gonna, help me out. And oftentimes, when we call home and tell our parents that their kids are not doing X, Y, or Z, we get
Yeah.
told to pound sand sometimes,
Yeah.
or we can't count on learning out of a healthy fear anymore. You can't teach out of a healthy fear. You might have learned that way, but you can't teach kids out of a healthy fear. You gotta take that off the table. So don't even try.
Yeah.
When that kid crosses a threshold, if they come in your room and they feel seen, heard, and validated, they're going to do backflips to stay in your room. Okay? Because if you are a teacher or a counselor that is teaching kids stuff as opposed to your information to kids, everything we teach them isn't as important as they are. They're important the most. And then we have all this important stuff to teach them. But when we focus on the content versus the kid, we lose them.
Yeah.
And if you have teachers in your building that have connections with kids, they have fewer referrals to you because when the kids are in there, they feel seen, heard, and validated. But you have a trauma-based kid who goes into a classroom, the teacher says, you have to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to do this, and that's going to trigger something, and they're going to bounce out of there, and they're in your office and like that.
Yeah.
So our teachers need to be given some gifts of I tell teachers, if you don't like your job, you're just working too hard in the wrong direction, because our kids are amazing, and teaching is the most amazing field that you can be in because you're touching the future.
Yeah.
So you're working really hard. You're just, you know,
You're
you
just you're going
just
against the grain
tweak,
of something. Yeah.
yeah, just tweak your delivery instead of have to, use get to.
Yeah.
Have to, 1/8 of your brain kicks in. Get to, 7/8. Laura, you don't like to be told what you have to do. But if I say, hey, today you get to do this and this and this, then oh, opportunity versus order. Just a word tweak. That's all it is.
And I've seen that in some of your things. I love your we're going to talk a little bit about your Cookie Bites. I love in Cookie Bites the parent, and I don't think I've shared this with you, that parent teacher letter that you can use to go home with the student when you're right. This is what, I think you have a lot of those letters that can go home with the parent
Well,
when
they're
you discuss.
takeaways. Like if you're talking social filter, you can print it off and say, this is what we talked about today.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. And they're beautifully made too. It looks so, so good. So let's talk a little bit about, that's just such a small component of Cookie Bites. Could you tell us
Yeah,
what it is, how
let
it
me share
started?
my screen really quick. So
Right.
this all happened because people were like, hey, will you read the books online? Will you record yourself reading the books? Because how I read the books is a little bit different than some people. And so basically I said, I started doing that. If I read the books on YouTube and I show the pictures, then everybody just looks at the books online and they don't buy the book. And then the
Yeah.
publishers get really upset because these books, by the way, except for the money book, are the publisher behind Julia Cookbooks are nonprofit publishers, which means that every penny these books make goes back to kids. Okay? Every profit margin, whether the publisher sells 2 million books or 10 books, the people that work there get paid the same. So this is incentive because they're nonprofit organizations.
Wow.
Cookie Bites, you go to Cookie Bites by Julia .com, BYTES, and you can watch this 2-minute video and it explains it all, 2 minutes and 7 seconds. You click here. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to start, reading aloud the books, because if I read them aloud, then you hold up the book and I read it to your kids, you still get my voice. Or maybe you just want to listen to the voice of the story. Maybe you're driving around with your own kids in the car and you want to hear a story. If you have Cookie Bites, you can pull up any story. Okay? So if you go to, you can just scroll down here for a minute. All right? This is the brand new one. I got this. I have bounce back superpowers. All right? So this is the story. And if you wanted to say, oh, I don't have this book, so I want to listen to it because then maybe I'll know if I want to spend my money to buy it.
You path you will take
hold it up.
is steep and bumpy.
And I read the story to you, okay? You can get the book there if you want to. And then the thing about teaching resilience to kids is, we have to build them from the inside out. And so this is the read alouds are great but sometimes you don't want my squeaky voice or use my books. These books are not required for this website. They add to it, but you don't have to have Julia Cookbooks to use the website. The things that set this website apart are videos of teaching ideas. How do we say things to kids to build them from the inside out? So for each topic on Julia Cook, all the topic, each book has a topic. For each topic, there is a video, okay? And
that's probably my favorite one. This one right here on emotional resilience.
You watch
probably
this
my
one.
favorite.
Do you want me to show it real quick? Is that okay?
Sure. I mean, you can. It is absolutely brilliant, and I am doing this with everybody. This is a brilliant video. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
you
may not
talks about building kids from
Yeah.
the inside out. Okay.
Yeah.
And like I said, so these are done in my house, in my kitchen. The hair's bad sometimes. The outfits are stupid, but
Social media has done a real number on our kids' self-worth. We're so worried about what other people think when they view us online. We want to look perfect, have all the right things, make sure that we present ourselves as being absolute the best. What happens is these kids are putting everything they can into creating this persona that's absolutely beautiful on the outside, but sometimes they feel just hollow on the inside. And it's kind of like our kids turn into holiday ornaments. They're beautiful and shiny, and they're hanging by a thread. And the minute that something happens and they take a hit, like someone says something or does something online to make them feel terrible, it smashes them into a million pieces. And they crumble. We want our kids to be more like pool balls than holiday ornaments. Like, look at this pool ball. It's shiny and it's, pretty content. And when a rock hits it, the rock bounces off and there's not a mark on the pool ball. See, we want to build our kids from the inside out, not the outside in. And it used to be we'd say, if I was going to praise a child, they'd say, oh, I'm so proud of you. If I give external praise, that's from my mouth to their heart, which is about 17 miles. When a kid's online, all the praises that they get come from the inside out. When they win at a video game or when someone comments on a post, those are internal praises. So what's much more effective with our kids is, wow, I'm sure proud of you. I can only imagine how good you must be feeling on the inside. I bet you're doing a happy dance and it's so big. What does it look like? All of a sudden the kid's like, oh yeah, I am doing pretty good. And starts to validate themselves from the inside out. Because we want kids that look pretty good on the outside, but we want them to be full of sparkle, shiny self-worth on the inside so they can share it with the world.
Okay. So, and then it has like a few, emotional resilience from the inside out. There's other books that kind of go with this video. And then if you, the thing is, okay, so I have a few minutes to talk to kids. I might read a book. I might say, okay, I want to read a story to these kids, and then I have to do some kind of an activity. And then, so if you have, let's say, attitude, okay, you're going and you're doing a attitude lesson, all right? So, of course, there's a attitude balcony or basement thing you can build and do with your kids. It's really fun. And if your kids, and you can listen to Batitude if you just want to hold it up or have them listen to it, that's fine. But then there's a grab and go activity. So we're trying to build kids' attitudes. This grab and go activity, life is a gift. What are you grateful for? Think about the things that you're grateful for and write them down or draw a picture of them inside the gift box. For depression and sadness, it's a backpack full of rocks. And it says, life weighs us down like a backpack full of rocks. Write in each rock something that's really hard for you. Okay. Mm-hmm. So then, you have a grab and go activity. It literally takes you have a grab and go activity that literally takes about, I would say 3 minutes to 5 minutes to complete. So you're not, and then when you get done talking about attitude and the teacher walks in and you've had your lesson on attitude, you say, this is what we talked about. Here's a list of 5 things you want to make sure you teach your kids about attitude. And you hand that to them or you send that to parents, okay? And also, maybe you possibly, I keep clicking out of this, sorry. Maybe you want some tips for parents. The tips for parents are going to be there that you can just copy that off and send that home for parents. And then another thing is I've been in over, I guess I can't tell you how many schools, over 3,000 schools. And I go in the bathroom, the teacher bathroom. So you can go to collections if you want, and you can see the self-care video and all the teaching videos are here all in one. All the read alouds are here. But these are inspirational posters because every time I see something that's worth putting up, I think, ooh, that would be cool. So I took a picture of it. Then I had my illustrator take that and change it into a cool quote. Okay, change it into a cool quote poster. The influence of a good teacher can never be erased. So those are already posters that you can use in your classroom or in your school. One of the ones I love the most is it's hard to be a smart cookie when you have a crumbly attitude. Okay, so that's this one. I saw this and I just thought that's so cute, and then my artist made it into a beautiful poster.
I
And you
need that on Miss Crumbly's
print
door.
that off and then just stick that somewhere in your building. But you own, basically with Cookie Bites, you own everything I've done for 18 years, and you can print off the activities, the parent talks. And the thing about it is that every month, new videos will get made, new activities will get made. It'll grow and grow and grow in size. And you can cancel it's like $5 a month or $50 for the full year. And we do district subscriptions. And I tell counselors, I say, it's one thing, you can use it because it'll complement like character strong. It'll complement perks. It'll complement second step. It'll give you the resources you need. If you have a substitute, you own everything. Okay. But the thing that's going to set this thing apart is if you push it out on teachers and you say, look at this resource for $5 a year or $5 a month, you have all of these things, all of those things that are tier 1, those
Yeah.
teachers can start working into their curriculum with very little effort, a lot of fun. The videos are really fun. And they'll start doing those things with kids. And all of a sudden the kid is like, oh, that teacher gets me. And if the kid starts to feel seen, heard, and validated, your caseload goes down and they win. And
So
everybody.
with the teachers, we're looking at, I know we have mostly listeners, but could you go back to collections? I want to look at something.
Sure.
So if you'll go back to collections and scroll all the way down to the bottom, all the way down here, there's tags, and do show more on tags down there below. So I have teachers who come in all the time and they'll want me to talk, this kid is whining. This kid is picking their nose. This kid's hair is, they haven't brushed their hair. This kid cannot organize. These are things that are not necessarily things I'm going to do a whole group lesson for the whole, but the teacher is having issues. And what I love is
My kids stink, they don't take baths.
We can go to a specific lesson for, if they have it, if your teachers have this, they have the ability for those little things that they're having issues with. I had a teacher come in and she said, my kids, this was bothering her. This is not anything that I have data on. I'm not going to do a lesson on it but she comes to me. I might do it for her class specifically, but if she had this, she would do it. Like the kids have no manners. They have no manners. They don't have any kind of, so I can go in here. There's a tag for that, or either I can search bar it. And there is so much, there's stuff on etiquette that you have. And I looked at that today and I thought, this is unreal. How all of these tags, there is something for every, I couldn't think of anything when I looked at these tags that my teachers don't come to me with that I can say, here's something for this child. And if you're individually, if you're doing a small group and they're dealing with organization, you have it there. So really the price I think Laura and I just were walking away going, she's giving this away, but we know your heart now.
Well, the thing is, it's sitting there, okay? It's stuff that we've done. Why is it sitting there with nobody to use it? I mean, and they don't pay teachers a ton of money or counselors a ton of money. Why would you want to spend a lot of money on something you can't use? So if you go to, if you go to a search and you go to organization or planning, this one is really fun because our kids, planning and prioritizing is something that, a lot of kids just really struggle with. So if you put in planning and then you search it, multitasking using your whole brain, okay? And this is, this is something that is so important for us even. I mean, this is a video that you can just do with your kids. Make these little props and show them.
We used to think that if we were doing 2 things at once or 3 things at once, we were taking advantage of extra time and getting a lot more done. But actually, research tells us that our brain is not meant to multitask and go back and forth. In fact, if we do one thing and just focus on that thing, we can do it in half the time.
So I'm going to fast forward this for us. Brain powered pizza. If you do one thing at a time, use your whole brain.
Wow, I love that.
You're on your phone at the same time. You're only using a half of your brain. And then if you are on your phone and on your screen, you're using a third of your brain. And then, and then you add your friends, and then it's a fourth of your brain. And then you got a fourth of your brain versus your whole brain. And, it's just ridiculous. Our brains switch back and forth. Okay. So then when it comes to planning, this is kind of fun because we have planning isn't my priority and making priorities into my plans. You just grab and go activity sheet. If you're a teacher and you've got a project to plan, name of the project, due date, ultimate goal, supplies needed, what to do now and later. Okay. So there's that one. And then there's another one that's the grab and go, the 2-minute rule. If you have something to do and you can get it done in 2 minutes, do it now. In the space below, create a sign for your room for the 2-minute rule. If the task you need to take takes 2 minutes, do it now because we can clear a lot of stuff off our plate. And then the get organized one is really cool too. Take everything out of your locker or desk, divide it into 3 piles. So the list goes on. The beauty of it is if you see something on here that you don't love, you let me know, we fix it. If you see something here that you can't find, you let me know, we'll create it. The illustrator of this book is the illustrator for all the Cookie Bite sheets. He's absolutely brilliant. I can give him chicken scratch and he can create anything. So it's your website. I want every counselor to feel like it's their website. Every teacher to feel like it's their website and they own it and they can use it. And if they can't find something, they let us know. And if you're a Substack person, it's going to be now on Substack. And if you're a Patreon person, it'll be on Patreon. So it's going to be on 2 platforms. If you want the subscription where the district pays for you, pays for so many logins, a site subscription, you need to use the Substack format because Patreon doesn't offer that.
So Laura and I bought this immediately. Like we didn't even wait. We're like, that is so cheap. I mean, I got to have it now. But it is such a reasonable price, and we will. Laura will get that information on our for our podcast, so our listeners can get on and get that.
Thank you. Cookiebites.com. Cookiebitesbyjulia.com, and it's BYTES, like computer bites.
It's brilliant. It is brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Julia. Go ahead, Laura.
We talk so much about working smarter, not harder. This is a no-brainer. This has everything that you need. All of our hot buttons. We talk a lot about communicating with parents, communicating with teachers. This has everything. So I don't know why you wouldn't sign up immediately.
And if you sign up for a month and you don't like it, you can surely cancel it, because I don't want anyone to spend $50 on something that they don't really love. So try it for a month. And if you don't like it, bail. But if you like it, you're out less than a Starbucks. And then, you can do the $50 a year option, which is a little cheaper. And it'll just keep growing. I mean, we're not going to change the price. Absolutely not going to change the price until I die and someone takes it over. Which I hope is not for a very long time. And I'll keep adding stuff to it and doing research and trying to figure out kids and stuff. So every month you get an email with what's new. So
it's just, I tell you, the lesson that I watched, the object lesson, where you had the inside, it was just a clear mesh bag, and you were putting emotions that fit the bag, and when those emotions get too big, they don't fit in the bag. And then I'm like, this alone was worth it. Yeah. This alone was worth it. How your brain thinks is amazing and wonderful.
If you want to see what's coming, this is kind of fun. If you want to see what's coming really quick, I will show you the next book out in October. Well, we have one that we just wrote, My Emotions Have a Job. And so if kids realize what their emotions, that they have a job, then that helps, right? And so they understand why they have certain emotions. But if you would like to see what's coming out, we have a book on October on vaping, because vaping is horribly hard for kids. And if we wait till middle school, I'm vape. People breathe me into their lungs every day. I make them like me, but I don't like them at all. In fact, I do everything I can to hurt everyone who uses me. I try really hard to trick kids into thinking that using me helps them fit in and look cool. Some kids try me because they've heard that I can help them calm down when they feel really stressed. Use me for a while, and I'll actually add to your stress level big time.
Mm.
This is my liquid stuff. Kids call it juice, but it's more like poison. Might smell good, might taste good. Don't let it fool you. Make it out of toxic chemicals and nicotine, one of the most addictive drugs on the planet. Sometimes I put other dangerous stuff in there that you don't even know about. This is my battery. I use it to light up my igniter, which then heats up my juice really fast and it talks about when you breathe me in, I start to hurt you and it burns your lungs. This is 390 degrees that the vapor is. That's hotter. Boiling water is 212. So it actually burns the lungs so intensely over time that the cells won't replenish. Okay. And then, since you're a kid, your brain is still growing. Each time you create a memory or a new skill, your brain cells connect with each other and form a bridge. My nicotine likes to knock down those bridges and rebuild them differently. This fools your brain into believing that you need more nicotine, so you use me again, and it all starts over. Before you know, you're addicted. So it doesn't scare kids. It just talks to them about what's going to happen if they keep doing it. And it's just heartbreaking because then the addiction, look at the addiction now. I will make quitting me the hardest thing you've ever had to do. It's grown. And then when he says, hey, want to try this? It's great. The trap smashes him. Oh, really? That's not what I've heard. No, thanks. And then we partnered on this one with Steered Straight. So Steered Straight is an organization that goes into a lot of schools and talks about not vaping and, let's start early. And I mean, this book could be read to second, third, fourth graders so they know.
When's it going to be out? Because I'm ready.
October.
Good. That's the perfect month because that's when we're kind of focusing on addictions and Red Ribbon and all the stuff. So that's going to be absolutely perfect. And I am getting on the waiting list. Last question, Julia. What's your favorite book? I know. Oh, and there's our doggies. That one is Henry.
That's Kirby, and this is Tommy.
Kirby.
And we use them to teach kids not to go up to people with dogs for the Scoopers book. So they're certified canine assist dogs for Child Watch, and they travel incessantly, and they're really fun. So yeah. What's on the what? What did you say? Sorry,
I love the dogs, and they're famous. I've actually seen them on news and different things when you've talked about Scoopers. And if you don't know about that, it's amazing. It's brilliant. We need to be talking to kids using that language. So I know it's probably like your children, but what's your favorite book?
That I've written or that other people have written?
You. Well, I'm kind of interested in both, but what is your favorite that you've ever?
Judgmental Flower, because every human relationship has to have trust and communication. I mean, I can love you endlessly, but if I can't trust you or talk to you, I can't have a relationship with you. And if you think globally, if we could trust North Korea and talk to them, they could trust us and talk to us, we wouldn't have any conflict with anyone. We could all grow in the same direction, which is up. So that's symbolic. It's a K through 12 title. It talks about racism and prejudice in a way that's never been talked about before. Matter of fact, I wanted to name it the Racist Flower, and Boys Town said, we're not having racist and Boys Town on the same cover. I said, well, then I want to name it the Prejudice Flower. He says, we're not doing that either. We're not doing this book. So then I read it to him, and he started to cry. Tears came down his cheeks. And he goes, we'll figure out a way. And I go, well, how about judgmental? He goes, yeah, we'll use that. So it doesn't have the word racist in it. It does have prejudice is learned and hurtful. And ending it starts with me. And it has that word on the last cover. But
Mm.
it's a book that, I mean, when a kid says my parents get divorced, it's my fault, it's only two reasons. Either they can't trust each other, they can't talk to each other. Those are the reasons why people can't have relationships. And we're in the relationship building business. We're in the people building relationship business. And those are the two factors. So if you have a relationship in your world that isn't working, stop and think, is it a trust issue or a talk to issue? And that's where you put your energy. Okay. So, I wouldn't have a job if you guys didn't do what you do. I am never unapproachable. If you have an issue that you want to email about, sometimes takes me a while, but I will email back. I love my school counselors. I feel like I'm one of you. I want to be on the same team as you ever. If I didn't do this, I would go back into school counseling in a heartbeat, and probably middle school. And there's no, I don't have an agenda here. Okay. This is just about doing what we do because it's the right thing to do. So that's it.
I'm good.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
Oh, best guest ever.
So, as Lynette, that we love so much, as she said to us in Kansas City when we met her and met Julia Cook is a verb.
She is a live wire, but she is definitely a verb. And to get to meet someone that is that brilliant, I can only use the word brilliant because I cannot imagine a brain that I've never met anybody, seriously, in all honesty, that has a brain that works that fast, that quickly, and turns over. I mean, I think she's always turning over ideas, and literally has said, if y'all can just think of anything that you need a book written about, I'll write a book. And that's why she's written over 100 books that answers every question, every need.
Well, and as school counselors, we all know who Julia Cook is. I mean, I think it's probably a course in your school counseling program about Julia Cook because she is so well known among us school counselors. And to meet her in person after knowing who she is all these years and to realize that she is even more wonderful in person than you could imagine. Like, she's genuine. She wants to help. Her heart is to help. She's fun. She is all the things and more that you hope that she would be. Sometimes you meet somebody that you have up on a pedestal and it's not quite the same, which is what people have said when they've met you. They've told me that.
Privately.
Privately. Yeah, privately.
Strange. Privately. That's what they're saying about private. Strange. I don't even know I'm on the podcast. She is amazing and
Yes.
so much fun. But I don't know when she sleeps or does anything else because she's like one of the busiest people in the world. And if you have not checked out her Cookie Bites,
Oh my
I
goodness.
used
Yes.
it, yes, which I did not tell you this. I used it on with my 8th grade. I did the prejudice flower, the judgmental flower, because she said they had to call it judgmental flower. So I did the judgmental flower with my 8th grade, all my 8th grade students, and they did they made flowers. And it was really so good. So her books, even though you think they're for youngers or whatever, there are a few that the message is so strong. And that one was, if you're not familiar with that one, she says that's one of her favorites. So I wanted to do that with, and I'm planning on doing that this month with probably all the way down to 2nd grade. So, but it definitely worked with my middle school. So just having her and you know what's so neat is that she texts and she calls. I don't mean to brag or name drop, but when her number comes up, I'm like, oh, it's Julia Cook. It's Julia Cook. So that's pretty cool. And getting to do this job, we've met and made some really, really wonderful friends. And she's one of them.
All right. So we hope you enjoyed this episode and just know she's as wonderful as she sounds on this podcast. She's as wonderful in real life and we love her. We love that she is our friend now. Yeah. So, Kim, we are about to launch our course, Growing Your Program for School Counselors. And
That was launching.
okay. Yeah, so we're about to launch that. We have a few spots left. So, by the time this airs, though, we may not. So, you can try it. If you do not have a spot this time, we will put you on the wait list for the next time. So, just know that's going on. We've got a lot of places that we're speaking. We were just going over our calendar, and it is just about full with different keynotes.
Yes, we'll be flying here and flying there and flying everywhere. I don't know why I'm sounding like a Dr. Seuss book, but and you will keep me
Exciting.
straight. You will let me know where we are.
I will. And if not, I will make you cancel a trip that you planned so that you can be where you say you'll be.
And that happened. That seriously happened because if she doesn't keep up with me,
Then you go rogue and book.
I go rogue and plan a trip out west with my parents.
Yep.
Put a lot of money down. And then you say, you know, that we're speaking that week. And I go, no, I didn't know. And then I have to cancel and lose hundreds of dollars. But
I
I'll
don't
get to
know.
be with you.
I don't know why that's a surprise to you. I think you should just budget that into your travel budget because every time you try to book something, that's what happens.
It's our joke. Laura knows, and if you've been listening a while, you'll know I will book a Vrbo, I will book a room, I will book a flight, and it's not going to happen. And sometimes I get money back, and sometimes I don't. But that's just the way it goes.
I think deep down you may have a gambling addiction. You've just never
This
actually.
is
pulled
it.
the
This is I'm gambling on getting to go.
Yeah. You just want to know, will I get my money back? Will I not? So, what else do we have going on, Kim?
We have the Growing Your Program, and we have a book that will be coming out shortly. So that's exciting.
Yep.
And I mean, just a lot of things. A lot of things. A lot of things.
I almost gave a teaser to something else we've got going on, but I don't think we're quite there yet. I think we've got to finish up some calls and
Yes.
secure a couple of things, but there's something else we're really excited about that's in the works. So,
Yes.
all right, you can follow us on Instagram. You can like us on Facebook. And I say this every week, but we would really love it if you would rate and review this podcast because that helps other people find us. And that's always great. So I think that's it. Anything else?
Got nothing.
Okay.